Hello, miladies of inestimable value. Respect is not something she demands, it's the atmosphere that forms when she walks in. Disrespect doesn't ignite a Sigma female. It freezes her world into silence so cold, even arrogance starts to shiver. Studies in behavioral psychology show that emotionally intelligent women are far more likely to respond to provocation with detachment rather than aggression. But the Sigma female takes that to an art form. She doesn't raise her voice. She raises the temperature of discomfort until the offender quietly burns in their own insecurity. She's not out here flipping tables or posting motivational quotes about self-worth. No, she'll sip her coffee, smirk faintly, and let your ego choke on the quiet. Her responses aren't loud, but they're surgical. She doesn't fight disrespect. She makes it irrelevant. This isn't about revenge. It's about emotional sovereignty. That frightening calm that makes people realize they were never in control of her mood, her mind, or her access in the first place. So when you cross a Sigma female, don't expect fireworks. Expect silence, the kind that feels like judgment itself. Number 1. She doesn't forgive. She upgrades. She doesn't forgive. She upgrades. That's the Sigma female's silent code. When someone disrespects her, she doesn't waste nights plotting revenge or rehearsing confrontations. She just quietly starts her evolution. While others are busy trying to fix what's broken, she's already building something new, a version of herself that's stronger, colder, and completely unreachable by the person who underestimated her. Forgiveness, to her, isn't some emotional ritual where everyone hugs and moves on. It's simply irrelevant. Why forgive someone who no longer exists in her mental universe? The moment she's disrespected, she doesn't see a mistake. She sees a message, a revelation of who you truly are, and once she sees it, she can't unsee it. That clarity kills all emotional attachment. Her response is silent progress. She shifts her focus, upgrades her goals, and invests her energy into things that multiply her value. She doesn't say she's healing. She just becomes a version of herself that doesn't even have the same emotional address. By the time the offender realizes what they lost, she's no longer the same person they disrespected. They're knocking on a door that doesn't exist anymore. What makes it powerful is that it's not revenge dressed in pride. It's evolution born out of pain. Disrespect becomes fuel, not trauma. Every insult becomes a filter that removes people who never deserved to witness her becoming. She doesn't seek closure because she understands that disrespect is the closure. It tells her exactly where the relationship ends. This quiet upgrade unsettles people because it exposes them. They expected drama, arguments, or tears, something that would keep them relevant. Instead, they get nothing but silence and the distant sound of her success echoing somewhere they can't reach. That's when it hits them. She didn't forgive, but she didn't hate either. She simply outgrew them. And that's her coldest move. Not slamming doors, not revenge. Just growth so undeniable it turns disrespect into her personal stepping stone. The Sigma female doesn't rise to prove a point. She rises because that's her default reaction to betrayal. Evolve until she's no longer in the same dimension as the one who tried to belittle her. Number 2. She uses detachment as spiritual warfare. Her detachment isn't coldness, it's evolution. The Sigma female reaches a level where disrespect doesn't even register as something worth reacting to. It's not that she's numb or emotionless. It's that she's learned to rise above the noise that used to shake her. What once would have offended her now only earns a quiet smirk because she's mastered something most people never do: emotional transcendence. She no longer views every act of disrespect as an attack, but as a mirror showing her who doesn't belong in her world. This kind of detachment isn't built overnight. It's forged from lessons, disappointments, and the slow realization that not every battle deserves her energy. At some point, she realized that her peace is her ultimate weapon. The moment she stops reacting, the offender loses control. They start trying harder, poking, provoking, anything to get a rise out of her. But she's already operating at a frequency where their noise can't reach. That's what makes it spiritual. It's not a tactic, it's a state of being. Her detachment is not about arrogance either. It's about clarity. She's seen how easily emotions can be manipulated and how people use outrage to stay relevant. So she detached, not to escape emotion, but to master it. When she walks away, it's not bitterness, it's elevation. She has no interest in proving anyone wrong because she's too focused on being right with herself. That's what drives people crazy, the fact that their disrespect couldn't shake her identity. Her calm becomes unsettling because it reflects everyone's chaos back at them. The louder they get, the quieter she becomes, and that silence starts to expose who's truly weak. Her lack of reaction becomes the lesson. You don't have to fight every disrespect. Some are beneath your response. Eventually, she reaches a point where forgiveness, anger, or revenge all feel like the same distraction. She's beyond it. Disrespect no longer wounds, it only reveals. And that's when she becomes untouchable, not because she stopped caring, but because she finally understood that power doesn't come from being right. It comes from being unreachable. That's her ultimate form of cold, not cruelty, but evolution that leaves everyone else behind. Number 3, she lets her progress do the talking. She never wastes her breath trying to prove herself to anyone who disrespected her. Arguing, defending, explaining, those are tools for people who still care about being understood. The Sigma female knows better. She knows that the most devastating response to disrespect isn't words, it's progress. So she lets her achievements do the talking while the offender drowns in their own noise. When someone tries to belittle her, she doesn't try to convince them of her worth. She simply goes and becomes undeniable. Her silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. She understands that energy spent on revenge or confrontation is energy stolen from growth. So she channels it all into her craft, her goals, her evolution. And the beauty of it is, by the time anyone realizes what she's done, it's too late. She's already levels above the people who doubted her. There's a special kind of humiliation in watching someone you disrespected become everything you secretly wanted to be. That's her silent revenge. Not bitterness, not payback, but progress so bold it erases every insult ever thrown her way. The people who once mocked her suddenly start studying her, pretending they always believed in her, while she barely remembers their names. What makes this cold is how quietly she does it. No public speeches, no "I'll show them" attitude, just consistent growth that speaks louder than any confrontation could. Every success becomes a sentence in a story that rewrites her entire past. Where others expected her to break, she built. Where they expected her to cry, she created. Her progress isn't just personal, it's poetic justice. It exposes the smallness of those who tried to diminish her. And the best part? She doesn't even rub it in. She just keeps moving, letting her results echo louder than her silence ever could. Because at her core, she understands something powerful. The loudest clapback isn't noise, it's success that doesn't include them. That's her masterpiece, rising so far that disrespect becomes nothing more than a forgotten whisper behind her ascent. Number 4, she erases you like you never existed. When a Sigma female decides you're no longer worth her attention, she doesn't make an announcement, she simply erases you. Not with drama, but with eerie precision. One day, you're a part of her world. The next, it's like you never existed. She doesn't block you to make a statement or post vague quotes to signal her exit. She just disappears mentally, emotionally, and energetically. It's not revenge, it's a reset. Her erasure is total because she understands the real power isn't in punishing someone, it's in denying them significance. She withdraws her attention, her curiosity, her emotional access, all the invisible things that once gave you a sense of importance. It's psychological deletion at its finest. The silence isn't passive, it's surgical. She's removing your emotional fingerprints from her mind, one memory at a time until you're just gone. And that's what makes it so devastating. You don't get closure, explanations, or final words. You just feel the air go still around her absence. No texts, no glances, no trace that you ever mattered. The world moves on, but she moves on faster. You'll check her life from a distance and realize she's thriving, untouched, unbothered, as though your presence was just a small glitch she's quietly repaired. People mistake her calm for cruelty, but it's not. It's self-respect in its purest form. She refuses to give her energy to disrespect, because she knows the moment she reacts, she validates the offender. Her silence isn't an emotional void. It's a statement. You're not worth remembering. The truth is, most people can handle anger or confrontation. What they can't handle is indifference, the feeling of being completely erased from someone's emotional universe. That's the Sigma female's art. She doesn't need to destroy your reputation or get even. She just removes your existence from her story so thoroughly that even your memory starts to question itself. That's her ultimate cold response. Not rage, not revenge, just a flawless erasure that leaves no trace you were ever significant. Number 5, she turns your words into self-exposure. When someone disrespects a Sigma female, she doesn't waste energy defending herself or trading insults. She understands that most people who try to offend her are really exposing their own insecurities, so she lets them. Instead of reacting, she mirrors, not through sarcasm or mockery, but through a calm, precise tone that makes their words bounce back like an emotional echo. Suddenly, what was meant to humiliate her ends up revealing who the real fool is. Her composure is unnerving because it dismantles the offender's performance. They expect chaos, argument, or emotion, something they can feed off. But she gives them stillness, and in that stillness, their disrespect starts to sound childish, desperate, even embarrassing. She doesn't have to say much. Sometimes a quiet stare or a single sentence like, "You really needed to say that, huh?" is enough to flip the entire power dynamic. What makes this response so powerful is how effortlessly she exposes people without trying to. Her intelligence works like a mirror. Whatever energy you send her, she reflects back with clarity. If you send anger, you'll see your own aggression. If you send disrespect, you'll hear your own insecurity echoing in her silence. She doesn't react to prove herself right. She reacts to make you realize you were wrong all along. It's a psychological judo move, using the offender's own energy against them. While they're trying to pull her into an emotional fight, she's turning their words into evidence of their immaturity. By the time they realize it, it's too late. They've already exposed their weakness, and she hasn't even raised her voice. The most uncomfortable part for the offender is that she stays calm through it all. Her tone doesn't rise, her expression doesn't shift. That calmness becomes a mirror that shows them exactly how small and unstable they look. It's brutal because she doesn't have to insult or correct them. Her silence does it for her. She turns every disrespectful word into self-exposure, and when the moment ends, the offender is left humiliated, not by her reaction, but by their own reflection. Number 6. She rewards disrespect with indifference. When a Sigma female encounters disrespect, she doesn't confront it with anger or rebuttal. She simply ignores it. Her response isn't passive, it's deliberate. She knows that the loudest statement she can make isn't through words or drama, but through complete emotional withdrawal. Nothing disarms a fragile ego faster than being met with genuine indifference. The moment she senses arrogance or entitlement directed at her, she quietly flips the switch. Her attention, energy, and curiosity, all the invisible currencies that make people feel seen and validated, are immediately withdrawn. You can scream, plead, or try to manipulate her, and it doesn't matter. She responds with a void so absolute it's disorienting. That silence isn't absence, it's a wall. The disrespectful person quickly realizes they're playing in empty space, trying to provoke someone who refuses to be provoked. Her indifference is brutal because it exposes the truth. The offense only had power if she allowed it. By removing herself, she forces the offender to confront their own immaturity. Without reaction, their words ricochet back on them, meaningless, shallow, and transparent. She doesn't give them the satisfaction of acknowledgement, and that denial of relevance is more cutting than confrontation. This response is subtle but devastating. People expect emotion. Even anger is comforting to them, because it proves the other person is engaged. But indifference erases that sense of control. She doesn't need to explain, argue, or retaliate. Her lack of involvement speaks louder than any words could. In a world where people are addicted to reactions, the Sigma female weaponizes her nonchalance. She doesn't need to humiliate or punish. She simply doesn't care enough to participate. Her silence becomes a mirror that reflects their desperation, arrogance, and irrelevance. That's the coldest form of justice. Total emotional withdrawal. A quiet reminder that power lies not in reaction, but in mastery over one's own focus and attention. By rewarding disrespect with indifference, she turns offense into exposure and arrogance into invisibility. She remains untouchable, untouched, and undeniably in control. Number 7. She observes you like a behavioral study. When a Sigma female faces disrespect, she doesn't react with emotion or confrontation. Instead, she observes. Every word, every gesture, every subtle jab is catalogued, analyzed, and stored. She doesn't take offense because she understands that what you're showing isn't about her. It's about you. Your arrogance, your frustration, your attempt to provoke her becomes raw data she can study. Every disrespectful act tells her something. Your triggers, your insecurities, your need for validation. She sees the patterns behind your words, the way your ego trembles when challenged, the desperation in your attempts to control or dominate. While others might get flustered or lash out, she quietly watches, understanding more about you in a few minutes than you realize. You think your insult landed. She thinks you just revealed your blueprint. Her mind doesn't get caught up in hurt feelings. Instead, she treats the interaction like a behavioral experiment. Each slight, each snide comment, each performance of dominance becomes a lesson in human predictability and in your personal weaknesses. She stores this knowledge like a secret weapon, not to attack, but to navigate the world with greater clarity. You've just handed her a map of your flaws, and she doesn't waste it. What's terrifying about this is how undetectable it is. You assume she's hurt, or confused, or even entertained by your disrespect. In reality, she's calculating, analyzing, and refining her understanding of you. Your ego collapses in real time, but not because of her words or actions, because she has made your weaknesses transparent to yourself. She doesn't need to prove anything, because understanding is her power. She doesn't retaliate, because she knows that knowledge is stronger than any argument or insult. By the time you realize what's happening, it's too late. You've exposed yourself completely, and she has already incorporated your behavior into her silent, strategic mastery. In a world driven by ego and impulse, her ability to observe without reacting isn't just cold. It's domination disguised as calm. She doesn't just survive disrespect, she learns from it, turns it into intelligence, and leaves you powerless in the shadow of her insight. Number 8. She turns emotional pain into strategic clarity. When a Sigma female experiences disrespect, she doesn't let emotions cloud her judgment. She doesn't lash out, complain, or stew in bitterness. Instead, she converts every slight, insult, or hurtful action into strategic clarity. Every act of disrespect becomes data, a lesson in human behavior, motives, timing, and intentions. She studies why it happened, who instigated it, and what it reveals about the person trying to provoke her. Nothing is wasted, and nothing is personal beyond the lesson it teaches. She treats emotional pain like raw material for growth. The moment someone tries to undermine her, she reframes it. This is insight, not injury. Every insult becomes a map of weaknesses, hers to observe in others, theirs to reveal. By analyzing the context and timing, she understands where power resides, who seeks it, and how she can protect or expand her own influence. The offense, rather than destabilizing her, strengthens her perception of the social and emotional landscape. Her response is subtle but powerful. She doesn't need to show you that you failed. She simply incorporates the information into her next move. Disrespect becomes a tool she wields, a piece of intelligence she uses to calibrate her relationships, interactions, and ambitions. While others react impulsively and squander energy on emotion, she converts emotional disturbances into tactical advantage. Her composure turns what was meant to weaken her into a roadmap for greater dominance and control. This ability to transform pain into clarity is what sets her apart. She doesn't just survive disrespect, she leverages it. Every slight, every insult, and every underestimation becomes fuel for a sharper, more aware, and more untouchable version of herself. Where others see conflict, she sees opportunity. Where others feel wounded, she feels enlightened. Her enemies may have intended to harm her, but instead they unknowingly handed her the tools to outmaneuver them completely. The Sigma female doesn't react emotionally. She evolves strategically, turning every insult into intelligence and every act of disrespect into a stepping stone for power that the offender can never reach. Number 9. She translates disrespect into power calibration. When a Sigma female faces disrespect, she doesn't lash out or try to correct you. Instead, she uses it as a tool, a way to measure your position in her world. Every slight insult or arrogant comment is like a data point that tells her exactly how much relevance you deserve. She doesn't waste time arguing over your opinion of her. She simply recalibrates her perception of you. In her mind, disrespect is not just an offense, it's a ranking system. Those who show entitlement, arrogance, or immaturity are immediately demoted. They're no longer people whose energy, time, or attention she considers worth investing. You may think your insult was impactful, but in reality, it has quietly sealed your position beneath her radar. She has no interest in proving a point or punishing you overtly. Her justice is subtle, invisible, and far more effective than confrontation. She simply recalibrates her priorities, placing you exactly where you belong. This mental re-ranking is precise. She knows exactly which relationships, conversations, and connections are worth her energy, and which are not. By the time the offender realizes it, she has already moved on, elevated her focus elsewhere, and left them irrelevant. There's no drama, no speeches, no public shaming. The act of disrespect simply reveals to her who is expendable. Her approach is chilling because it's completely silent. You're not humiliated through words or actions, you're punished through omission. The quiet withdrawal of attention, the refusal to engage, and the conscious decision to stop investing in you hits harder than any argument ever could. It's a methodical, strategic form of justice, powered by detachment and clarity. In the Sigma female's world, power isn't just about dominance or control, it's about discernment. Disrespect doesn't anger her, it informs her. It tells her where to focus, where to withdraw, and who to elevate above the noise. By translating offense into power calibration, she turns every insult into an opportunity to protect her energy and sharpen her influence, leaving the disrespectful completely irrelevant without ever lifting a finger. Number 10. She counterattacks with calm precision. When a Sigma female chooses to respond to disrespect, she does it with precision, not passion. She doesn't yell, throw insults, or react emotionally. Instead, she delivers her response with a quiet, deliberate calm that makes the offender's anger seem exaggerated, immature, even absurd. Her words aren't meant to wound. They're meant to disarm, to highlight the emptiness behind the attack. That calmness is sharper than any insult because it exposes the offender's lack of control. Her tone is intentional, measured, and almost surgical. She never lets the situation dictate her emotions. She dictates the situation with her presence. The offender expects chaos, perhaps drama or tears, but finds a controlled response so effortless it undermines their attempt to provoke. By staying composed, she turns their energy against them. Their rage, which was supposed to dominate the interaction, now looks foolish and overblown. What makes this counterattack so effective is that it doesn't feel like revenge. There's no emotional expenditure on her part. Instead, it's an exercise in dominance through composure. Her calm becomes a weapon because it forces the offender to confront the contrast between their heat and her stillness. The more they try to push, the more they reveal their lack of control, while she remains untouchable, observing and steering the interaction without raising a finger. Her response is almost hypnotic. It immobilizes the aggressor mentally before they realize what's happening. By refusing to escalate, she makes them escalate themselves, which is the most potent form of humiliation. They look reactive, desperate, and unrefined, while she remains the picture of calculated power. In essence, the Sigma female's calm counterattack is a quiet storm. It's not about being loud or vengeful. It's about control, strategy, and the subtle art of making someone implode emotionally while she remains untouched. She doesn't need to win with force. She wins with composure, and in that silence, the offender's rage becomes the proof of their own failure. Number 11. She intimidates with her lack of need. A Sigma female's power lies in her complete lack of need. Most attempts at disrespect, manipulation, or provocation only work because the target cares. They want validation, approval, or some form of acknowledgement. When someone expects a reaction, they're counting on the other person to invest energy into them. But the Sigma female operates differently. She doesn't crave approval, she doesn't chase validation, and she certainly doesn't require closure from anyone. That absence of need makes her untouchable. When someone tries to disrespect her, their words have no weight because she doesn't allow them to. She doesn't argue, she doesn't explain, and she doesn't defend her worth. There's no emotional currency for them to spend on her. She simply doesn't participate. That's what makes her so intimidating. People are used to reactions, to control, to influence. She denies all of it effortlessly. Her indifference isn't coldness, it's mastery. By needing nothing, she removes herself from the rules that govern most interactions. Offenders find that their tactics, insults, charm, manipulation, aggression, fail completely. She's not swayed by ego or pressure because she doesn't rely on anyone else's perception to feel complete. In a world where most people are fueled by attention and recognition, her self-sufficiency becomes a kind of psychological weapon. This lack of need also forces the disrespectful to reveal themselves. They scramble for leverage, try harder to provoke, and show desperation they didn't intend. Meanwhile, she remains completely grounded, fully aware, and untouchable. The more they try, the more their weakness is exposed, and the more her confidence shines. In essence, her untouchability is a byproduct of self-containment. She doesn't retaliate because she doesn't have to. She doesn't prove herself because she never needed anyone else to validate her. Disrespect bounces off her, not because she's cold, but because she's whole. And that wholeness, that freedom from need, makes her one of the most intimidating presences anyone will ever encounter. Number 12. She lets time humiliate you. The Sigma female doesn't rush to settle scores or issue immediate payback. She understands that time is the most precise instrument of justice, far sharper than anger or confrontation. When someone disrespects her, she steps back, withdraws, and lets life do the work. Her silence isn't emptiness, it's strategy. Every moment she remains unaffected, every achievement she quietly stacks, becomes a mirror reflecting what the offender failed to respect or appreciate. Time becomes her ally. While the offender expects a reaction, they get none. Instead, they witness her moving forward, rising above their petty attempts to provoke. Every success she accumulates, every boundary she maintains, every relationship she carefully nurtures without them, serves as proof that they were irrelevant to her growth. They thought their disrespect had power, but in reality, it's only highlighted how small and inconsequential they are in her world. Her silence over time becomes haunting. The more the offender tries to regain influence, the more they realize she has moved past them entirely. She doesn't need to prove anything. Her life, her progress, her calm, and her detachment speak volumes. They're forced to confront not just their own failure to command respect, but also the quiet fact that she thrived without needing their acknowledgement. That absence, that unbothered existence, becomes a constant reminder of what they lost access to: her presence, her attention, and her energy. This delayed response is cold because it's invisible but undeniable. No arguments, no drama, no forced justice, just time showing that disrespect is powerless against someone who is intentional with her energy and patient with her life. The offender's own impatience and ego become their undoing, and she remains untouchable, elevated, and completely indifferent. In the end, her greatest revenge isn't anger, confrontation, or words. It's time itself, letting life reveal the consequences of disrespect, while her calm and progress silently humiliate those who once thought they could undermine her. In the world of the Sigma female, disrespect is never met with predictable reactions, petty arguments, or loud confrontations. She doesn't need to prove herself, explain her worth, or retaliate for validation. Every response, whether it's silence, detachment, progress, or strategic observation, is a demonstration of power so quiet, precise, and devastating that it leaves the offender exposed, irrelevant, and often unaware of the depth of her control. From erasing those unworthy of her attention to letting time humiliate those who underestimated her, from translating insult into insight to turning indifference into the sharpest weapon, her methods are not just reactions, they are lessons in dominance, intelligence, and self-mastery. What makes her response to disrespect so extraordinary is that it's not about drama, revenge, or ego. It's about sovereignty. She operates above the emotional noise of the world, calibrating her energy, observing with clarity, and upgrading herself continuously. Every insult, every slight, every act of arrogance becomes a stepping stone for her elevation rather than a trap. While others waste time reacting, she thrives. While others try to provoke, she remains untouchable. While the disrespectful scramble for control, she quietly rewrites the rules of engagement, ensuring that her presence, her silence, and her progress speak louder than any words ever could. For anyone watching, there's a lesson here. Power, doesn't always roar. Sometimes it exists in calm, deliberate detachment. Sometimes it thrives in observation and action rather than reaction. And sometimes the coldest and most unforgettable response is to simply evolve beyond the reach of those who dared to disrespect you. A Sigma female embodies this truth fully, turning every slight into an opportunity, every insult into intelligence, and every absence into influence. If you found this breakdown of Sigma female responses enlightening, powerful, and absolutely captivating, make sure to show your support. Subscribe to the channel to uncover more truths about the most extraordinary minds. Comment your thoughts to join the conversation, and share this with someone who needs to see the subtle art of dominance at work. Your engagement fuels more content like this, and together we explore the hidden dynamics that define strength, intelligence, and untouchable confidence.